In a world of endless information and evolving knowledge, certain stories continue to evade explanation. These mysteries, dark, unsettling, and entirely unresolved, have long captivated curious minds and ignited the imaginations of those who yearn for answers. But what makes these stories truly compelling is the fact that, despite the passing years and the advancements in forensic science and technology, some cases remain open-ended, defying any attempt to unravel them fully. Today, we're going to delve into some of the most haunting real-life mysteries that continue to perplex experts and amateurs alike. These are tales of unexplained disappearances, inexplicable events, and chilling oddities that have left an indelible mark on history, yet refuse to surrender their secrets. With each story we'll explore, you'll be given an inside look at the case details, the primary theories that have emerged over the years, and the elements that make each of these mysteries so uniquely unsettling. As we journey through these cases, we invite you to become a detective for the day. Keep an open mind, examine the facts presented, and weigh the theories against your own intuition. At each twist and turn, try to piece together the puzzle and ask yourself, is there a rational explanation, or are some mysteries simply meant to remain unsolved? This video aims to engage that part of you that's intrigued by the inexplicable, driven by a desire to understand the unknown. For each case we present, you'll encounter unsettling questions, and perhaps, in the process, you'll uncover more questions than answers. Yet that, in itself, is part of the thrill, a reminder that even in today's world, there are still things we don't fully understand. So get ready for a journey into the uncanny. Prepare to confront stories that may leave you second-guessing what you thought you knew about reality. As we go through these unresolved mysteries, pay close attention to each detail. You never know which one might be the key to unlocking an answer that has evaded even the most seasoned investigators. With this introduction, we set the stage for the eerie accounts that follow. Tales of entire communities disappearing without a trace, inexplicable natural phenomena, and disturbing warnings that defy logic. Each case promises to offer its own unique brand of intrigue and horror, drawing you deeper into a world where answers remain frustratingly elusive. Now, if you're ready, let's begin our descent into the unknown. These mysteries are not just stories, they're fragments of reality that have left a scar on history, reminding us of our limitations in the face of the truly inexplicable. For centuries, people have been drawn to the enigmatic, the unsolved, and the unexplainable. These stories ignite a mix of fear and curiosity that resonates on a profound level, pulling us toward mysteries that often feel just out of reach. Part of the allure of unresolved cases lies in their open-endedness. Unlike typical stories that offer clear resolutions, unsolved mysteries invite us to ponder, to guess, and to search for answers ourselves, even when logic seems to falter. The fascination with unsolved mysteries is no modern phenomenon. It's a tale as old as human storytelling itself. In ancient folklore, unresolved tales often served as cautionary examples or explanations for natural phenomena. Myths of lost cities, spirits of the departed, haunting unmarked graves, and strange occurrences were the means by which people grappled with the unknown. These stories served not only to entertain, but to offer a way to explore collective fears, the limits of knowledge, and the boundaries between reality and imagination. They were, and still are, a way to make sense of the mysteries that science and reason alone cannot explain. As we moved into the modern era, with advances in technology and psychology, our perception of these mysteries began to shift. We're now armed with forensic science, criminology, and the internet, which allows us to delve into details, theories, and evidence as never before. The rise of true crime culture, particularly in recent decades, has reignited interest in unresolved cases, bringing them into mainstream consciousness. Today, unsolved mysteries hold a special place in popular media, from books and movies to podcasts and documentaries, each platform providing its own spin and interpretati. But why does this fascination persist? For many, It's the thrill of piecing together clues, evaluating suspects, and developing theories. A mental exercise that allows us to step into the role of investigator. Even more than a source of intrigue, these mysteries create a sense of intellectual challenge. They're puzzles without clear answers, inviting us to test our own reasoning against the often fragmented details available. We are invited to analyze, hypothesize, and maybe, just maybe, see something that others missed. At a deeper level, though, unsolved mysteries speak to something universal in the human experience, our discomfort with the unknown. As much as we might enjoy the process of theorizing, unresolved cases also confront us with the limits of our knowledge and the mysteries of the universe that remain beyond our grasp. There's a part of us that yearns for closure, for order in the chaos of an unpredictable world. These stories keep us balanced on the edge of that desire for understanding and the unsettling notion that some things may forever evade explanation. This balance of curiosity and discomfort is part of what keeps us returning to these tales. In a way, unsolved mysteries are both mirrors and shadows. They reflect our need for answers, our love of stories, and our eternal fascination with the unknown. At the same time, they cast shadows, revealing the limits of our perception and the things we fear we may never fully understand. Each of the cases we'll explore invites us into this delicate interplay, pushing us to confront the unknown while acknowledging our natural drive to make sense of it all. As we transition into our first case, let's remember that these mysteries aren't just idle curiosities. They're fragments of real lives, real events, and real enigmas. Each one embodies the mystery and tragedy of a situation that has yet to find its resolution. So, with this sense of curiosity and respect for the unknown, let's explore the chilling and perplexing tale of an entire community that vanished without a trace. Case 1. The disappearance of an entire community. In the winter of 1930, the remote village of Anjikuni Lake in Canada became the setting for one of the most perplexing disappearances in modern history. Anjikuni was a small Inuit settlement nestled deep within the frozen wilderness, accessible only by arduous treks or dog sleds. This was a place far removed from bustling cities or even typical travel routes, with harsh conditions and little outside contact. For years, the villagers lived quietly, isolated but peaceful. However, on one fateful day, every single inhabitant of the village vanished, leaving behind only eerie remnants of their lives. The story begins with Joe LaBelle, a fur trapper who was familiar with the surrounding areas. LaBelle had often visited Anjikuni and knew the people well, but on this occasion, as he approached the village, something felt profoundly wrong. Instead of the usual lively atmosphere of families tending to their work or children playing in the snow, he was met with an unsettling silence. His initial assumption was that everyone might have left temporarily, but as he explored further, it became clear that something was terribly amiss. According to LaBelle's account, the village was eerily deserted. Fires were still burning in some of the dwellings. Half-cooked meals sat abandoned as though their owners had left in haste, and there was no sign of any struggle or sign of violence. Personal belongings, valuable supplies, and clothing were left behind, suggesting that the villagers hadn't intended to be gone for long. Most hauntingly, LaBelle noted that the graves of the villagers' deceased had been desecrated, with the bodies removed. A detail that remains one of the most puzzling aspects of this case. LaBelle reported his findings to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, who launched an investigation into the mysterious disappearance. They interviewed nearby trappers and Inuit people in an effort to understand what could have prompted the mass exodus. However, no credible explanation surfaced. Despite the RCMP's thorough search and interviews, no trace of the villagers was ever found. The story quickly spread through the media, drawing widespread speculation and theories ranging from the supernatural to the speculative. Several theories have emerged over the decades in an attempt to explain what happened to the people of Anjikuni. Some suggest that the villagers encountered a fatal event and fled in panic, possibly due to hallucinations or a mass hysteria triggered by isolation and harsh conditions. However, this doesn't explain the lack of footprints, the undisturbed snow, or the fact that all the inhabitants seemingly vanished without a trace. Others lean toward more supernatural explanations, citing legends of the Wendigo, a malevolent spirit in Algonquian folklore said to prey upon isolated communities and drive people to madness. This theory, while unlikely to satisfy scientific scrutiny, resonates with the fear and mystery surrounding the unknown, especially in such an isolated and frigid location. Skeptics argue that the story may have been exaggerated or sensationalized over time, pointing out that early records of the event are scarce and later accounts seem to rely heavily on LaBelle's original testimony. However, those who believe in the disappearance argue that LaBelle's account is credible, as he was an experienced trapper unlikely to be easily deceived or mistaken in such a manner. Perhaps the most unnerving aspect of the Angicouni case is its open-ended nature. With no physical evidence, no remains, and no definitive answers, it stands as a reminder of the limits of our understanding. How could an entire village simply vanish, leaving no trace, in a world that we assume we know so well? The people of Angicouni, their lives and stories, are now woven into the fabric of unsolved mysteries that continue to defy logic and rationality. As we ponder this unsettling mystery, it challenges our perceptions of safety, isolation, and the unknown forces that may lurk beyond our understanding. This case is a perfect example of how unsolved mysteries not only pique our curiosity, but also confront us with the reality that some stories may forever resist explanation. Now, as we transition from the haunting emptiness of Angicouni, let's shift our focus to another enigma. This next case takes us from the vast frozen wilderness to an equally chilling but very different setting. A serene, frozen lake that would become the site of a disappearance that baffles investigators to this day. Case 2, the mysterious event at the frozen lake. In the early winter of 1980, a group of friends ventured out to Lake Bowden, a remote and usually tranquil area known for its stark, wintry beauty. Located in a northern region where icy winds and snowfalls are common, the lake freezes over each year, creating a vast expanse of glistening white that draws ice fishers and nature enthusiasts alike. This time, however, the lake will be the setting for a disappearance so strange that it remains one of the most debated mysteries in local folklore. The story centers on 3 friends, Mark, Angela, and Simon, who had known each other since childhood. The trio had decided to spend the weekend ice fishing and camping by the lake, an annual tradition that gave them time to catch up and escape the stresses of daily life. They were well prepared, experienced with the harsh environment, and equipped with everything they would need to withstand the sub-zero temperatures and long, dark nights typical of winter in the north. As the weekend progressed, they checked in periodically with friends and family via radio, reporting a successful fishing trip and an enjoyable time in the wilderness. But as the evening fell on the 3rd day, all communication ceased. This sudden silence raised alarms, but it wasn't until days later that a rescue team, alerted by the families of the missing individuals, was dispatched to the lake to investigate. What they found would shock them and confound investigators for years to come. Upon reaching the campsite, the rescue team found an unusual scene. The group's tents were still pitched, and their equipment lay scattered around as though they had left in haste. There were fresh fish lying frozen on the ground, along with Simon's camera, which had been carefully set down as if ready for use. But there was no sign of the 3 friends. Disturbingly, the search team found a series of footprints leading from the camp onto the lake's frozen surface, trailing off into the distance. The footprints ended abruptly in the middle of the lake. There were no signs of broken ice, no holes, no indication that anyone had fallen through into the water below. It was as if the 3 friends had simply vanished into thin air. After combing the area for additional clues, the search team expanded their efforts, questioning locals and employing additional search parties, but no further evidence or remains were ever found. The lake was thoroughly searched, including drilling into the ice and examining beneath it, yet no clues emerged to explain what had happened. In the wake of the disappearance, theories and speculation ran rampant. One popular theory suggested that the friends may have encountered a sudden blizzard or a disorienting weather phenomenon known as a whiteout, which could have led them to stray too far and become lost. However, this theory fails to explain the abrupt ending of the footprints on the lake and the absence of any other evidence. Another theory speculated that the friends were victims of a crime, possibly an ambush by unknown assailants. Yet this too seemed unlikely, as no traces of struggle or additional footprints were found. Some locals offered a more supernatural explanation, referring to old legends about the lake. According to these tales, the lake is said to be haunted by spirits that lure individuals into the icy depths. This legend, while not grounded in scientific evidence, reflects the mystery and dread that has surrounded the case. Others have suggested that the friends may have experienced a psychological phenomenon, such as collective hysteria or shared delusion, causing them to walk out onto the ice and disappear. Skeptics argue that this case might have been exaggerated over time, with added details making the story seem more dramatic than it originally was. However, the facts of the abandoned camp, the abrupt end to the footprints, and the lack of any substantial clues are well documented. To this day, the disappearance at Lake Bowden remains an open case, with local authorities unable to provide a definitive explanation for what transpired that winter night. The mystery of the frozen lake challenges the logic we apply to missing persons cases. How could 3 experienced campers, well equipped and familiar with the environment, vanish so completely and without a trace? It's a chilling reminder that even with our best efforts, some questions will forever remain unanswered. With each theory unable to explain the complete picture, the case of Lake Bowden is yet another enigma that refuses to fit neatly into our understanding of the world. As we move forward, let's take this unsettling reminder of the unknown with us as we examine another chilling case. Our next mystery unfolds not in the wilderness, but in the form of unsettling, anonymous letters that would leave a family questioning everything they thought they knew about their own lives. Case 3. The strange letters from an unknown resident in the quiet town of Circleville, Ohio. Life was ordinary, predictable, and far removed from the sort of mysteries that would capture public attention. That changed in the late 1970s, when an anonymous letter writer began terrorizing the residents with a series of disturbing, threatening notes. What initially seemed like a peculiar nuisance quickly escalated into a mystery that would captivate the nation and haunt those involved for decades. To this day, the author of the letters remains unidentified, leaving the Circleville letters case shrouded in eerie ambiguity. It began innocently enough. In 1976, Mary Gillespie, a local school bus driver, received an unsigned letter accusing her of having an affair with a prominent figure in town. The letter's tone was threatening, warning her to end the alleged relationship and keep it a secret. What stood out was the intimate detail with which the letter described her daily activities and personal life, suggesting that the writer was someone very familiar with Mary and her routine. Mary ignored the letter at first, but the warnings persisted, with more letters arriving, each filled with increasingly specific and menacing information. Mary was not the only one targeted by the mysterious writer. Other residents also began receiving letters, each tailored to expose private information or threaten to reveal dark secrets. The letters were postmarked from nearby Columbus, but no clues within them revealed the identity of the writer. Each note was written in the same blocky, almost childlike handwriting, with simple language that somehow made the threats feel even more sinister. The townspeople became uneasy, knowing that someone close was watching, and seemed to know details that only a local could. As the letters continued, the sense of dread in the town escalated, but the writer's campaign took an even darker turn when Mary's husband, Ron Gillespie, received a phone call that allegedly confirmed the identity of the letter writer. Enraged, Ron grabbed his gun and drove off, presumably to confront the caller. Shortly after, he was found dead in his car, which had crashed into a tree. The official report stated that Ron's blood alcohol level was high, suggesting he was intoxicated. but Mary and her family maintained that Ron was not a heavy drinker. Additionally, his gun had been fired once, but there was no evidence of a struggle or confrontation. The circumstances surrounding his death added yet another layer of mystery to the already chilling case. As rumors circulated, law enforcement struggled to identify the writer. Suspicion fell on various people, including friends and family members, but no evidence ever surfaced. Then, in a dramatic twist, Paul Freshaw, Mary's brother-in-law, was arrested after a suspect letter was found in his possession. Despite maintaining his innocence, Paul was convicted of attempted murder after the writer allegedly attempted to kill Mary by tampering with her vehicle. He was sentenced to prison, and the letters briefly stopped. However, the respite was temporary. Astonishingly, while Paul was incarcerated, the letters resumed, seemingly taunting law enforcement's failed attempts to catch the true writer. The authorities were baffled, as Paul had no means of sending the letters from behind bars, yet they continued to reach residents. This strange development deepened the belief that someone else might be behind the Circleville letters, possibly someone in the community with deep-seated grudges or hidden motives. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged, each attempting to explain the Circleville letters' mystery. Some believe the writer was someone close to Mary, driven by jealousy or resentment. Others argue that Paul Freshaw was indeed the writer, and he somehow managed to manipulate others into sending the letters on his behalf, even from prison. There are even those who think that the letter writer was never apprehended, and the person may have been a clever local with a talent for exploiting the fears and secrets of the townspeople. Despite all the theories and investigations, the true identity of the Circleville letter writer remains unknown. What's clear is that the writer knew how to play on people's insecurities and fears, manipulating the close-knit town from behind a veil of anonymity. The Circleville letters stand as a stark reminder of how little we sometimes know about the people around us, and the lengths to which someone might go to unsettle, frighten, and control a community. As we move to the next mystery, we leave behind the disquieting tale of Circleville, but carry with us the unsettling truth that some mysteries are bound not by physical disappearance, but by the intangible power of psychological fear. In the following case, we'll see how even the most ordinary objects can carry ominous undertones when tied to unexplained events. Let's turn now to a curious case that centers around a stopped clock, marking the precise moment of a tragedy and leaving a family haunted by its mysterious implications. Case 4. The Enigma of the Stopped Clock. In the small town of Portsmouth, England, a curious story has lingered in local folklore, leaving residents with a sense of unease each time they remember the tale. It centers around a seemingly ordinary clock, the type found in countless homes, ticking away silently in the background as time marches forward. But this clock was anything but ordinary. On one tragic day, it inexplicably stopped at the exact moment a family member passed away, casting an ominous shadow over the household and raising questions that have yet to find answers. The story begins with the Baker family, who had inherited the clock through generations, passing it down like a treasured heirloom. The clock held sentimental value, reminding the family of their ancestors and past moments shared within the home. It sat prominently in the living room, its rhythmic ticking providing a comforting background sound that marked the passing of days, months, and years. However, its legacy would take a darker turn on the night of January 5th, 1978. On that particular evening, Martha Baker, the family matriarch, was alone in the house. Her husband had fallen gravely ill and was in the hospital, where he had been under intensive care for several days. Martha was preparing to visit him the following morning, clinging to the hope of his recovery. Yet, as midnight approached, a strange and unsettling feeling came over her. She sat in the quiet of her home, lost in thought, when suddenly the clock stopped ticking. The house fell eerily silent, and for reasons she couldn't explain, Martha felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Moments later, the phone rang. On the other end of the line was a nurse from the hospital, informing her that her husband had passed away just minutes before. Martha glanced at the clock, still frozen at exactly 11:57 p.m., the same time recorded as her husband's official time of death. It was as if the clock itself had somehow marked the tragic moment, stopping in synchrony with his final breath. This unsettling occurrence didn't end with Martha's experience. Over the years, other family members reported similarly eerie events associated with the clock. Some said it would stop briefly during times of illness or misfortune, only to resume ticking as if nothing had happened. The family began to regard it as a kind of ominous harbinger, a silent observer that seemed to reflect their lives and losses. Eventually, Martha's descendants chose to store the clock away, hoping to escape the foreboding presence it had cast over their lives. The enigma of the stopped clock led to a range of theories. Some suggested it was merely a coincidence, a trick of perception created by the emotional weight of loss. After all, clocks stop due to mechanical failure, and it's easy to attach symbolic meaning to such events in times of grief. Others believed that the clock was attuned to the family's energy, an idea stemming from concepts of psychometry, the notion that objects can retain and express emotional or spiritual imprints from their owners. Regardless of explanations, the stopped clock remains an enduring mystery, an ordinary object transformed into a chilling reminder of life's impermanence and the thin boundary between the mundane and the inexplicable. For the Baker family, it served as a solemn guardian, marking moments of sorrow in silent observance. As we prepare to leave this haunting story behind, we turn to our final reflection. What is it about these mysteries that so captivates us? Perhaps it's not the hope of finding answers, but rather the understanding that some aspects of life will always remain elusive. Let's close with a reflection on why mysteries like these persist in our collective consciousness and what they reveal about the human condition. As we come to the end of this journey through some of the world's most chilling and inexplicable mysteries, we're left with more questions than answers. Each of these cases, the vanished village of Angikuni Lake, the haunting footprints on the frozen lake, the disturbing Circleville letters, and the stopped clock of the Baker family, reminds us of the limits of our knowledge and the profound effect that unsolved mysteries can have on our collective psyche. What is it that draws us to these tales? For many, mysteries offer a mental puzzle, inviting us to engage, theorize, and even play detective. But they do something deeper too. These stories tap into universal questions about the nature of reality, our relationship with time, and the boundaries of what we consider possible. They hint at the fragility of what we understand and the potential for strange forces, whether supernatural, psychological, or simply misunderstood, to influence our lives. Mysteries like these endure because they offer a rare combination of fear, curiosity, and the thrill of the unknown. They present us with unfinished business that demands our attention, leaving space for our imagination to fill in the gaps. They keep us engaged in a mental dance between logic and wonder, allowing us to consider what might lie just beyond the edges of our comprehension. Moreover, these mysteries speak to something deeply human, our discomfort with uncertainty. We crave resolution, the satisfaction of tying up loose ends and categorizing the world into explainable events. When that isn't possible, we are left with a lingering sense of incompletion. Perhaps, in some ways, unsolved mysteries mirror the mystery of life itself, a journey without all the answers, an experience marked by both clarity and ambiguity. In closing, these unsolved mysteries are more than eerie tales. They are windows into the human condition, reflecting our desire for answers, our fascination with the unknown, and our acceptance that some things may forever elude understanding. They leave us with an enduring sense of curiosity, and perhaps that's the most significant takeaway of all. A reminder to keep asking questions, to remain open to the unexplained, and to embrace the wonder that comes from living in a world where mysteries still exist. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the unknown. We invite you to share your thoughts, your theories, and even your own unsolved mysteries. After all, the world is vast, and there are still many questions left unanswered.